Okay, so hopefully this is recording and will continue to record. I'm trying something different. I guess y'all would call this a podcast in the teenage terms, because you're not actually going to see me on this video. You're just going to hear my soothing voice as I walk. So a lot of labored breathing from the fat woman. You'll enjoy that, I'm sure. So I recently watched two movies that we're going to talk about, and both were kind of about the same thing, but kind of not, which is aborting disabled children. Now, the first movie was A Private Matter, which I watched specifically because it starred Sissy Spacek, and I adore Sissy Spacek. So I went into this not knowing a whole lot about it, except that it was her. So in this film, Sissy Spacek plays a woman who has 4 children and has been told by her doctor that termination of her 5th child would be in the best interest because she had been taking thalidomide. Now, for some people who might not understand, in the 60s, there was a medication for like sleep, anxiety, nausea. It was called thalidomide, and it caused deformations in babies. It would, the limbs. And so this movie focused around this one woman's choice, and this was a true story. It was the story of Sherry Finkbein. Her choice to terminate the pregnancy back in the 60s, when it was very illegal and very controversial. And she got so much hate from her own neighbors. Like there were fights from her kids, from other kids in the school, and it was a circus. It was crazy, all for something that should have been between her and her doctor. But because of the way things work out, I think it was a brother-in-law or something was doing a newspaper article on thalidomide and the effects it was having, and she told her story to him. And so there had to be a court hearing about whether she would be able to have the abortion after this news article came out and after it became public. If it had stayed just between her and her doctor, it would have just kind of happened. But she wanted to be outspoken about this. And what I loved about Sissy in this movie is multiple times she stands up and screams at these men to stop talking about her when she's right there and to talk to her. Like, that's something that women are still saying. Don't talk about us to about our mental or our physical problems, especially with pregnancy. Talk to the woman and let the woman talk back and hear her. And Sissy multiple times said that, and it nearly brought me to tears. Sissy always can. This woman actually wound up having to go to Sweden to have the procedure done because all of the media and public outcry, no doctor would perform it for her. So one of the things I took away from this, and I've known this for a while, but I don't think about it often. Back then, the reason that they didn't know what these drugs did to women was because they weren't tested on women. Until 1994, they were only tested on men. And it was just kind of like, well, these work fine for men, just tell women not to take them, and if they obey, it'll be fine. If they don't, we'll have to deal with the repercussions of that. In 1994, the FDA finally acknowledged that female bodies and male bodies are biologically different, and they started adding women to testing groups. This changed a lot. But it only happened in 1994. Put that in perspective. I was 9 years old when that took place. I'm only 37. And this is something that's happened in my lifetime. So back in the 60s, they didn't test the drugs on women. They didn't know the effects. They basically didn't see us as people. Even in this movie, they're constantly talking about her, with her right there. I'm coming to an intersection where I gotta cross, so I'm sorry if there's a lot of traffic noise. The worst thing I think about the thalidomide thing is that it came back. It was a problem in the 60s, but then it came back in the 80s as a different drug and also caused problems. And then it came back again in like 2013 or something and caused problems. So that's not something that's gone away still, unfortunately, even with everything that we know. I think that's all I have to say about the movie A Private Matter by Sissy Spacek. It's a great movie. It's on YouTube for free if anybody wants to watch it. It is absolutely heartbreaking. It's a true story. If you're into that type of thing, I know I am. It really does make me mad, though, that it took so long for them to start testing on women. I mean, they know how important women are, that we carry the babies, and that the generations after are important. They're literally what's going to carry the world. So the idea that they didn't acknowledge us, we earned the right to vote before we earned the right to be tested for medications in our bodies. It kind of makes you understand anti-vax people a little bit. Not fully, but a little bit, because it's crazy how long it took them to start testing on women and letting us have an opinion on things like that and be believed. Because back then, if you took a drug that a man took and you had a different reaction, they would probably tell you were lying, because men take this fine. So, I don't know. It was definitely a moving film. I think it was made in 1992. I'm gonna have to look that up. But it's here on YouTube, and I will, if I remember, put the link